that sound is the sound of the telephone not being answered, because we have invited Glasgow City Council in the person of the Executive Committee. Thank you, Michael. I think that's enough. We did talk to Goape, and in fact we had actually asked them if they wanted to come. Again, they did not respond. They have said to us that they're not prepared to come, but they have asked us to read out the statement, and again we're very happy to read out the statement from the National Trust. We have been accused by Goape and by National Trust, even by Glasgow City Council, of running a campaign which is not democratic, doesn't take account of other people's views. I certainly feel, and I know Bob shares this, that we believe we've done everything we can to produce a democratic campaign. We feel if there is a lack in this, it's not from us.
I've been asked to come and talk about common good and how it might relate to Pollok Park. So what is common good? Well, basically it's the property of the former boroughs of Scotland, all 196 of them. In 1975, when the town council administrations were wound up, the title to these assets became vested in the new district councils and subsequently the new unitary authorities that came into being in 1996. This is the latest list in the public domain published by the council. And it doesn't include Pollok Park, it doesn't include Kilburn Grove Park, it doesn't include any number of several hundreds of historic possessions of the borough. Now, in light of the definition I gave a few moments ago, it's clear to me that Pollok Park forms part of the common good of the City of Glasgow. Now, in my mind, that's beyond any doubt. The land was gifted to the borough, and usually that's enough. It was certainly not acquired using any statutory powers, and title has not been held by any special and constituted trust. Ergo, it forms part of the common good. My firm view, and this is backed up by legal opinions as well, it's not rocket science, is that Pollok Park forms part of the common good, and that needs to be acknowledged in these circumstances. Thanks very much.
We asked an Edinburgh advocate to give us a legal opinion on. He is Desmond Chain, Advocate, Parliament House, Edinburgh, instructed by Brodie Solicitors. Now it's important. This is somebody who has taken time and put his name to this. And I'm going to read out the most important things he says. We asked him to review the agreements and express an opinion as to whether the National Trust for Scotland has any locus to prevent the proposed development taking place. And he answered yes. And the reasons he gave were, and I'm summarising them, the 1939 agreement says, no part of the lands shall be used, leased or otherwise alienated for the erecting of dwelling houses, offices, factories or buildings other than those specified in this clause, what they call Clause 3. What does Clause 3 say? It allows for playing fields and recreational spaces only with the consent and the approval of the National Trust. Okay? So he's saying, according to our legal opinion, the National Trust have the right to enforce its provisions. And this still applies even after the second agreement in 1969, when effectively the Pollok estate was then transferred to the Glasgow Corporation, now the Council. So the Council and the National Trust are now the parties to this agreement. The second main point that the advocate has said is one of the enforceable conditions is that no new act or thing should be done which, in the opinion of the National Trust, would tend to injure or destroy the present aspect or condition of the land. And the advocate says, it seems to me that where a development is proposed which may have an impact on the condition of the land, it is incumbent upon the National Trust for Scotland to express an opinion as to whether such a development meets whether it's approved. But we have a letter from the National Trust itself, copied to us, sent to the Glasgow Council on the 9th of January of this year, which says exactly the same thing. The National Trust themselves have quoted the 1939 agreement, they objected to the proposal, and they went through the same things again. Nothing should be done, detrimental to the aspect of condition of the land, and so on. It says quite specifically in the letter from the Countryside and Islands Group Manager of the National Trust, the consent of the Trust is required for these developments. The Maxwell family themselves, through their agents Pollok and wrote to Glasgow City Council in January 2008, objecting to the development and stating, the gift is subject to the terms of the 1930 agreement. Quote, this agreement requires that the consent of the National Trust must be obtained for any new building and so on. So you might ask yourself, well, maybe the council didn't know about this. Well, just hang on. It was produced, paid for by the council in 2002. It covers every square metre of the park. It recommends what should and shouldn't be done in every square metre of Pollok Park. What is on page 9? In detail, the 1939 agreement, right? Which specifically says the National Trust has the right to say whether developments and buildings can go ahead or not. Again, at the bottom, very specifically in bold italics, developments, for example, for any recreational facilities, or even the cutting down of a single tree, have to have the approval of the National Trust for Scotland.
I think we should be encouraging the National Trust to face up to its responsibilities.
First of all, Nicola's congratulations on the campaign, and if following Andy's presentation.
I'm pleased to say that we've been able to push officials who should have been able to do better than a C- SA.
How many members of the National Trust are here, and how many would be willing to ask, to write to them along the lines we've been discussing tonight?
How many would be willing for us or would want us to suggest that the National Trust do what they've been asked to do? Take a stance. Thank you very much.
I suggest it might be a good opportunity to pass the third resolution tonight, deploring the personal attacks that have been made on them and expressing our full confidence in the work they're doing to preserve the interests of Pollok Park, which others